Hey everyone, it's Robin Riley for Bello's Designs. Welcome to my video tutorial, which is part of our junk journal series. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to sew a signature into the cover of a booklet that you create. And when I say signature, this is what I mean. The signature is this section here, the pages that are part of your journal. Okay, very quickly, let me show you this little wallet journal that I created. Today's focus is not going to be on the creation of the pockets or the decorating of the journal. I've already done a video on that, and you can look back in our junk journal series to see those. Today's focus is simply going to be attaching these pages, these signature pages. And here you can see where the attachment takes place in the very center. Let me go through this very quickly so you can see there are different pockets with different elements to this journal. These are lots of fun to make and a great way to use up a lot of your scraps. All right, so let's take a look at the supplies that I'll be using here. I am going to be using the Lavinia Dreamscapes paper, the Color Burst collection. I'm using one sheet of this. These are 8x8 pieces. Now, from one piece of the 8x8 card, you can make 2 of these booklets. So what you do is you take that 8x8 piece of paper, you cut it in half, so that you will end up with 2 pieces that measure 4 inches by 8 inches. So that's the first thing you want to do. This paper is super thin, so it's really easy to fold this paper in half just by matching up the corners and pushing down in the center, getting a nice seal. That's, as you can see, here's the other half. So from one sheet of paper, I'm going to get 2 of these booklets. You will also need something for your signature pages. Now, if you follow along any junk journal people, you see that they use various items for signature pages. Today, I'm just using some scraps of coffee dyed paper and fruit dyed paper, actually, that I purchased online. And I chose 7 sheets of paper. I wanted to do something that matched my cover. And we'll talk about these holes in a second, how those got put in there. As you can see, these vary in size. I want this to be able to fit.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Well, there goes Siri talking to me when she shouldn't have been. Anyway, excuse that. So when you measure out your signature pages, you don't want them any longer than your cover. So our cover was 8 inches long. We want to keep them, 7 inches, maybe even shorter. As you can see, my pages vary in width and length, and that's cool. That's the way it's supposed to work with a junk journal. Okay, so let me get back to the other supplies that we're going to be using. Let me set these to the side. Okay, today, very little stamping because it's not the focus. I'll be using the Luna Buds LAV 527. Along with the Spellbound Fairy, LAV 434. She's one of the older fairies, and I think she's just darling. She's a cutie. Okay, next for the inks, I'm going to be using VersFine, Clair, and Nocturne, and Chianti. Going to do this one just a tad bit different than the one I showed you. I have no idea why my watch is talking on its own. I apologize again. Okay, so we got the ink covered. I'll be using my Misty stamping tool for that. And the other supplies that I will be using, I will be needing scissors. I'm using a darning needle for the sewing. I am using an awl. Now, if you don't have an awl, you can use a pokey tool. You can use, actually, even the thick darning needle would go through. You could use a hole punch, whatever you have in your stash. I'll be using some baker's twine to sew the signature into the cover. A ruler for measuring if you want to be a little bit accurate, but you don't have to be. And, oh, the last thing, I'm using a piece of thick foam. That's what I like to poke through so I don't dig up my my sheet here, I poke through the papers onto this foam just to protect my sheet. You can use a stack of papers that would work the same way. Okay, let's get started. Now keep in mind, the focus of this video tutorial was just to show you the sewing. So here I've already gone ahead and I stamped using my MISTI. I stamped the Spellbound Fairy and the Luna Buds. This is in Nocturne. This is in the Chianti. If you look closely, you may see a second generation here. Okay. And then using the signature pages that have been folded in half, I place these inside the center of my cover. And with the awl, I am going to be, as you can see, I've already done this, poking through. And all I do is simply press the awl through the paper. Now, using a ruler, if you want, you can measure and get the middle point. That's typically what I do. I get the middle point of my paper, and then I go an inch out from each of those and press another hole into my paper. So this is going to make sewing so much easier. Now, some people I've seen just simply put pencil marks there and use their needle and just press through. It's all going to depend on the paper that you're using and how thick that paper is. Now, for the sewing part, I took baker's twine and I measured this way. What I typically like to do is measure at least 4 times the width. So I went a little overboard on this measurement, but it's okay. It just makes tying that bow easier. So what I mean by 4 times, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little excess for tying. This is even too much. I probably could have done 3.5 measurements of that, and it would have been long enough. But you know what? I don't like tying those tiny bows anymore. So here's how you begin. I'm using the baker's twine and I doubled it. I have 2 pieces here because this is so thin. But if you're using something like twine, you would probably only need a single piece. So I'm going to thread that through my darning needle. Now here's another personal decision you need to make. You can start in the inside, and if you do that, you will end up with your knot and your bow on the inside, which if I do that, I typically have long dangling pieces here where I adorn with jewels or whatnot. If you start on the outside, which is what I did here, you will have the bow and the knot on the outside. And for today's project, that's what we're going to do. So to do that, flip it over. You're going to take your darning needle through the center hole, pulling up, leaving a long tail behind. This is what the part that you're going to be tying. So make sure you have enough. Then from the center hole, you will go down through that top hole. Don't pull too hard because you don't want to buckle your paper. And again, that's going to depend on your thickness of your paper and the number of pages. Now let's flip back that cover. Here's where we started, here. Here's where I am. I'm going to travel all the way down to the very bottom hole, taking my thread through. Sometimes you got to give a little bit of a pull to get that. As you can see, I'm keeping my thread to the left side. You want to do that for ease. Okay, don't let it get tangled up. Let's flip back, and I'm going to go down through that center hole again, and I want to make sure I'm not splitting any of my threads. It just makes for a not so neat look. So here we are. I'm going to remove my needle now. And I just have everything securely in place. I'm going to simply make 1 knot As you can see, I really have a lot of excess thread here that I did not need, but that's okay. I can always save those scraps for later. And I'm simply going to make a little bow as if I were tying a pair of shoes. And I'm just going to even up the size of those bows, snip off this excess piece. And what I like to do, just kind of as a finishing touch, is I typically put a little knot at the bottom. Now, you don't have to do this. You could actually fray these, and they look really cute when they're frayed at the end. But I kind of like the finished look of that knot on the base. Now, if you wanted, you could place a little dot of glue here to secure that. And let's do that. Wow. Let me grab my glue here. I'm using the Designer's Dry Clear adhesive. So let me just put a little bit of glue on the sides of that knot over the top. And that'll just secure it. That way I don't have to worry about it falling apart later on. So that's basically it, guys. That's how easy it is to sew a signature into one of these sweet little wallet journals. Let me show you the original one. And there's the one I created today. Very simple, very easy to do. Just a fun little project. Again, a good way to use up your scraps. Here, I'll run through real quick. Look, that's an ATC card that I had into a little pocket. Just so many ways, another ATC card to decorate these. And like I said earlier, I do have another video in the Junk Journal series that talks about making these embellishments, how easy they are and fun. Fun to make all these little hidden areas. Make sure to leave blank pages in your journal because you want the recipient to have space to write. And on the backs of your little cards that you create or other journaling spaces. So I think these are fun. I think these are just a great way to use up scraps that you have. There's a Lavinia scrap. You might recognize some of that paper. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I hope you give junk journaling a try. And if you do, how about posting your makes in our Facebook groups? And let's talk about those real quick before I leave you. We have two of those Facebook groups. We have the Del Bello's Design Lounge, and that's where we showcase all of those wonderful Lavinia products that Patty has in her shop. The Del Bello's Design a la carte page, that's where we showcase all of those other projects and other items that Patty has in her shop. We have other social media platforms that we are part of. We are on Instagram, Pinterest, and TikTok. And if you want to find us over there, all you have to do is go to those sites, search hashtag Del Bello's Designs. Thanks again, guys, for watching. I hope I taught you something a little bit different today, something that you're willing to give it a go and a try. Don't forget to tag me if you decide to make something like this so I can see, along with everybody else, your wonderful creations. Okay, take care, everybody. Thanks. Bye-bye.